How's it going, Jack Tackers, and welcome back to another video for you guys. Today, I'm going to be doing my review for Superman and Lois Season 3, Episode 5, which was titled Head On. And overall, I thought it was a pretty solid episode. Another solid episode in this season. I think we're probably 5 for 5 in terms of solid episodes. I don't think there's necessarily been a bad one. Again, I wouldn't say it's as good as the previous episode, because Episode 4 was just really great, in my opinion. And the more I look back on that episode, this past week, I've been thinking about it nonstop. Just a fantastic episode, in my opinion. But yeah, this is a pretty good one as well. We start off the episode, Candace is living with the Kents, and then later in the episode, we find out that she's going to end up living with her aunt, Aunt Peggy, in Topeka, Kansas, which is like a 4-hour drive, apparently, from Smallville. And Jonathan finds out about this. And he's, kind of down in the dumps because of it. And he was also offered this job at the fire station from Kyle. And then he's like, oh, I don't know what to do, when they're at this school dance, school Valentine's Day dance, I think it was. And then Jonathan's like, man, I don't know what to do. And at the end of the episode, Jonathan and Candace end up driving off to Topeka. And I think it does seem like Jonathan is just going to do, what his heart tells him to do, ultimately. And it looks like Candace tells him that, he needs to do what he wants, basically, and should do the thing at the fire station. But anyway, that was kind of like a side plot of the episode. But, it was kind of sad, I guess. I don't know. I didn't care that much about Candace and Jonathan's relationship. Although I do care about Candace as a character, mainly because she has an abusive father, and I do think she's a relatively complex and interesting character just from the little bits and pieces we've seen of her throughout the show. So, yeah, it's kind of cool that she's gotten a little bit of a bigger part this season, I suppose. But anyway, the main chunk of this episode revolves around Lois finally getting another round of chemotherapy at Hobbs Bay Medical Center, which is Bruno Mannheim's hospital. So Lois is basically still trying to investigate Bruno, and I'm scared for her. I'm scared for her, because when Lois is on I think Dr. Hook's computer, she kind of sneaks in like a little sneaky little badass. She's awesome this season. I can't stress that enough. I feel like I say that every episode, but yeah, I've just been loving Lois this season. And Bruno catches Lois on the computer, and then Bruno shows Lois his research lab, and I'm just loving Bruno Mannheim. I'm loving his character. I've also feel like I've been saying this every episode, but this episode in particular, we do kind of get a little peek back behind the curtain. He's a relatively complex character. Yes, he's still a bad guy, but you kind of get to see some of his motivations a bit more, and just some of his backstory where he talks about his mother, and Bruno really actually wants to help people's cancer at Hobbs Bay. He really actually wants to help people, but he also does some shady stuff, really bad stuff. But I just love that we get to see that kind of peek behind the curtain with Bruno Mannheim in this episode. There's been a few other scenes like that, but yeah, he's a fantastic antagonist this season. Honestly, without a doubt, easily, and this might be a hot take, I don't know, but I don't think it really is that much, easily the best antagonist, the best villain the show's had so far. A lot of that does come down to Chad L. Coleman. He's a fantastic actor as well. But I think what the writers are doing with him this season, kind of showing his complexities, especially in this episode, and how he actually does want to help people with his cancer, with their cancer, and his kind of research that he's done at Hobbs Bay. It's all really interesting stuff. But he does do some shady stuff. We are introduced to Deadline. He can kind of like phase in and out. This character, Deadline, DeStefano was his last name, Dr. DeStefano, or something like that. Actually, I don't know if he's a doctor, but I do know Deadline is a comic book character. I don't know that much about him. I'm not going to sit here and lie like I know who Deadline is, but he is another superpowered being that, of course, Bruno Mannheim has created, and he's basically putting together this team at this point, which, I think it's the Society of Supervillains. I'm trying to do some research on like some of the comic book material, but I don't know that much about it, if we're being completely honest. So I'm not going to pretend like I know that much, but it's like something about that. I was trying to do some research, but yeah, Bruno Mannheim's basically putting this team together, and we have this fight with Deadline and Superman. Towards the end of the episode, there wasn't that much Superman content in the episode, but the fight was really good in my opinion. It was short, but it was really intense, mainly because Deadline had that little bit of kryptonite and was slashing Superman all over the place with it. It was really good and entertaining, I gotta say. And then at the end, when Superman kind of pushes him into the wall, and he kind of phases into the wall, and Deadline's just kind of stuck in the wall as his arms like protruding out of it. That was really cool. And also when Superman, used his heat vision and opened up that little doorway to enter through the building. That was really badass. Really enjoyed that. And, it was a cool little scene. We didn't get a lot of it. A lot of this episode actually did kind of revolve around Clark talking to these two women and kind of still dealing with Lois's chemotherapy and her cancer. And I will say that's kind of a negative, but I don't know if I'm really allowed to say it's a negative of this episode. But this season's definitely has been kind of heavy with the cancer stuff. And it is interesting and compelling dramatically. Like, it makes for good drama storytelling, in my opinion, when anyone has cancer. I mean, Breaking Bad. But, Lois dealing with this cancer and Clark dealing with it. Everyone's dealing with it, obviously, in their own way. But, him talking to those two women, it was just very depressing and sad. And I do think that it's starting to, get a little too much for me to handle. And I don't know, maybe that's just because I have a lot of anxiety and stuff. But, yeah, cancer's just terrible. And they show a lot of it in this season, and I can't really say that's a negative, I guess, but just me personally, it makes me sad, man. But it's supposed to make you sad. This is a drama series, so I can't really knock it too much. It's not that much of a negative, really. But I know a lot of people have kind of talked about this already. They're just kind of sad, and I really love the character of Lois, and I don't know, it just makes me upset, and again, I don't really feel like that's a worthwhile complaint. I don't really think that's a fair complaint to have. Oh, there's too much cancer stuff, because it is still interesting and compelling. But it's just I got some mixed opinions on that, I guess. But it's still interesting, and I'm still enjoying what they're doing with Lois. And she didn't want to. She wasn't able to make it to the dance. She wanted to though. But then at the end, you have Jordan, Jonathan, and Sam. And Candace, they're all there at the house, and Clark puts on some music, and they're all able to dance, and that was really wholesome. It was a really good ending, but then we do find out towards the end of this episode, at the very end, Bizarro is back. What? Come on, brother. This is just craziness. I mean, really, Bruno Mannheim is just a goat at this point in terms of creating superpower beings and putting together this kind of group of people, and it's very interesting stuff. But yeah, Bizarro's back. That's pretty cool. Hey man, I love Bizarro last season, and he's a cool villain. So I'm looking forward to the rest of that. What else happened this episode? We have George Jr. Basically telling Lana that he believes she cheated to beat his dad. And he's kind of mad at her. But then they make up kind of towards the end of the episode. Well, George Jr. and Sarah kind of make up towards the end of the episode. Because George Jr., we find out, is just actually sad about his dad dying. Because Onomatopoeia killed him. By the way, Onomatopoeia hasn't been around in the past few episodes. But she is going to be back next episode, it looks like. Because I watched the promo. So that's exciting. And looking forward to that. But yeah, that was kind of a little... It wasn't that interesting, to be honest. And apparently... Lana doesn't really want to come out and say anything and kind of reveal information about Mayor George Dean. We find that out she tells this to Chrissy at the end of the episode. What else happened this episode? We have Mateo Mannheim, Bruno Mannheim's son, obviously, interacting with Nat at this dance. And he goes in for a kiss, and Nat's like, I can't do this. Mateo has no Riz confirmed. But yeah, we find out Nat actually just has never dated anyone and never kissed anyone, so she's just like me for real. And I really like the conversation, that little heart-to-heart that she has with Sam, and she calls him Grandpa, and that's kind of wholesome, and actually really wholesome, and I liked that moment. It was very sweet. And yeah, that's really all that happened this episode, but it was interesting. Definitely gets me excited for the next episode to come. And I definitely want to see what you guys have to say about it. Did you enjoy this one? Because I did. It was a little depressing sometimes, but I did like that scene where Kyle was dancing at the dance, so that was kind of fun. There's some fun moments in here, and obviously the Deadline Superman fight was very intense, and I liked it. But yeah, let me hear your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and check out my Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, all that jibber jabber down in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.